Oi, what's up? It's Demented, and today I have a kind of weird video, again, as usual, but I wanted to do a video uh, kind of covering the Open Division clarification thing that got posted by Aqua. Big shout out to Aqua. I DM'd them and asked if I could have the, the ability to make a video on this, and hopefully this can help the people that really don't want to read the entire thing. So, gonna be completely honest, I'm also one of the people that doesn't really like reading stuff, but I'm going to, for the most part, try to break this down and kind of read everything. And then since I'm someone who's very much a underachiever, and I don't try to make things too complicated on myself or other people, I'm gonna kind of try to paraphrase it a little bit to see if I can maybe make it easier to understand for someone who's either a little bit more distanced from the scene a little bit. But it's a 13-page document. I am so ready to fucking lose my voice. Okay. So, for the author's note, the main thing that I took away from this was pretty much just that this is actually backed up by a Blizzard rep who was in charge of Open Division, and they were able to help Aqua get out some of these answers. So, big shout out to them, even though the aren't the specific person isn't credited. Still, fucking big ups to them. So, again, the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to just read the thing in its entirety, and then I'm going to have a probably a second timestamp on top of the original one that's kind of going to be me paraphrasing it in a way. So, without further ado, let's read a fuck ton. So, general questions. What is ladder? Why was it created? And does it affect my path to pro progress? And this is also getting into ladder points in general. So this is also going to be something that's followed up in this one with what are pro points. So if you have any questions about pro points, that'll come up in a second. It'll be just after this, so bear with me. Okay. So the ladder is a new system brought in by Blizzard. The point of this ladder is to offer a place for teams to track their progress and compare to the standings of other teams. Now, for some teams that are in Tier 3, this may not make a lot of sense. This is primarily brought in the more broad majority in sense of Tier 4 players. So, ladder points don't affect your path to pro, as they don't affect things like seeding, your pro points, or your threshold to get entry into cups, which again, cups we'll get into later. So, moving on, ladder matches do slightly generate pro points, so don't make a big deal out of it, but fucking again, as we're doing right now, make sure to read the entire section. Each week teams are going to be able to get 50 points, so this is kind of a side thing for me where I don't know what this was before, and I think in the brackets that what was a maximum of 50 points a week per player has now been reduced to 15, and so again, we'll get into how all the stuff works in a second, but just thought that'd kind of be a side thing. So each win rewards the team with 5 pro points, and in the first win of the day, granting a bonus 10 points, which means if spread over 4 days, teams would only have to win 4 matches to hit the max. So this is also very confusing, just to me personally. So I'm assuming that maybe the first win of the week grants you your initial 10, and then the rest are generated with your 5 per every other win of that week, or it could be a day by day thing. I don't really know. But moving on, and the rest is kind of a suggestion actually for managers that I forgot before I got started on it. But basically, what this meant to me, more or less, was that this is good in my eyes because I think realistically you're kind of taking out the downtime of open division, and instead it's like, you know, your team can constantly be going. And if you're a team that is like solidified, you have your roster ready, by all means start fucking going off. So again, some of the pro points talk was very like concerning for a lot of people, and a lot of people would think it was very abusable. So I will get into that, I believe, soon, but pretty much in the, I guess, grand scheme, there's not really like a whole lot when it comes to how these points are working. It's not like anything crazy, but you're limited on how many points you can get per week for how much you're playing. So just, I guess, keep that in mind. So let's talk about pro points. So what are pro points? Why are they created, and does this affect my path to pro progress? How do I earn these, and what about pro points in general? So pro points are a system added into the Path to Pro series. These are a way to monitor a player and team's status. They're at the moment attached to players' accounts, as they promote and highlight players in the scene who are historically gatekept by teams implementing SR requirements for tryouts. This is an easier way for staff and other players to track a player instead of everyone running around in poorly made resumes and all that. So going forward after or before I get into the next little paragraph, I have a lot that I want to say about this, because I have a lot of personal experience with this after just my run in general with teams. So I'll come back to this, but this is gonna be a really big thing to think about in terms of just what are pro points. So why are they tethered to players instead of teams? This will help create a more fluid system for players to move up and down the ladder. Now, there are things that the community have already pointed out that are problematic, such as, I misread, and this was talked about in detail as a implementation of pro point requirements for teams. If this is deemed as problematic, they'll pretty much review it and rework it. So long story short, this does affect your path to pro, which is very unfortunate, but the way the system works is very confusing at first and on the surface level, but if you break it down, it's a lot easier than it's made out to be. So let's just keep the ball rolling with Aqua's, I guess, representation of the summary, and then I can do my own paraphrasing. So every week a team will be able to generate a max of 50 pro points every week, and the cap is to be reset on Monday. So you'll be able to get another 50 points for that week at that point. These points are used to gain entry into cups that I brought up earlier, and cups are kind of going to be the I don't want to say your standard open division, but it's going to be your basic tournament where, you know, if you're placing high, then you're going to be getting a lot of pro points. You're going to really like be able to kind of make your mark through getting all your pro points from something like that. This first round of invites for trials works the same as they did last year through a double elimination tournament. Initial seeding and prerequisites to sign up for future qualifiers may require a certain threshold of pro points. Each cup will outline its specific rules when it's announced. So what this means to me is basically when it comes to a invitational tournament or a tournament that has something like open qualifiers, you're gonna see a lot more of people using the pro point system and being like, hey, well, if you're a team that, like, you don't have to be like, man, if you're a team that's scrimming 4.5 because everyone fucking is at this point, man, be ready to get your ass in gear and fucking come to our open qualifiers. Instead of that shit, you can kind of start breaking it down into more of a individual, okay, let's see how many, like, where kind of the threshold is for, like, teams that are good based on pro points, and see if there's if that's going to be a lot more telling than I guess typically. But what I also want to point out is, like, these are all like steady increments for like all of these, which I think is kind of weird in terms of like I guess the 100 and then 200 is like half of it, and then the jump from 800 to 1200 like instantly might make for a bit of a problem, because then I feel like if a team just comes in first in like one cup, it could make a bigger problem overall. But that's just a small thing that I'm thinking of. But I want to go back into these first two paragraphs. So my paraphrase version of what pro points are realistically is pretty much a way to, it's the team-based version of SR, where basically now peaks don't really matter as much as I guess to an extent pro points do. But I also kind of have a, not necessarily a contradiction, but a kind of concern about this in the future. So but just to fully flesh out my point, pro points are definitely going to be used, I believe, a lot more than SR, where SR is going to be like the basic, like, you know, this is the level that we play at, but then it's going to be an alternative to SR is a better way to put it that I couldn't think of until just now. But you can then be like, sure, you know, maybe my peak is lower, but like I have this many pro points, which means like you have experience being amongst, like, if let's say a couple like people that are in trials right now have like, and this is hypothetical, like a couple months down the line have like 4,000 pro points or whatever, and then you're there at like 3,500 or like 3,700 or some shit, then that's gonna like tell teams, like, even though your peak is dog shit, then you're still like someone who has the experience of playing on a team at a level that is not necessarily that of trials, but something that is like, I guess, in the same kind of ballpark a little bit, where people can at least acknowledge that you have been working at your path to pro. So my personal concern is with this, pro points in my eyes now are like, the bar is gonna constantly get pushed, and I don't know how to feel about that, because there's no, from what I know, I don't know how losing works necessarily, but if you lose, I don't think you lose pro points unless possibly in like a ladder match or something. But when it comes to like that's the only red flag for me, for the most part, is like, I don't think that there's a whole lot that is like to be lost. But if you're constantly only gaining pro points, then the ladder might get oversaturated really fast in terms of like you know, this time next year we could have people with like 100,000 pro points or some shit, and they're just like blowing everyone else out of the water, and there's no way for anyone else to like catch up or whatever. And again, the bar is only getting pushed. And again, you also could have maybe people that, you know, aren't as good playing and getting still like a insane amount of pro points just left and right is my kind of concern. So, but if they have a way to lose them outside of ladder matches, then I guess I retract my statement. But I also want to just bring up quickly that if I get anything wrong, I will probably send this to Aqua beforehand. If not, just tag him in the video when it's uploaded and say that, like, if there's anything in the that I'm getting wrong in this, or if any of my concerns are answered and I'm just very dumb, you can, if you make a comment about what it's supposed to be, then I will pin it and I will make sure that it's cleared up for the most part. Okay. How will matches work on ladder? Can't this be abused? Can you pick the team you're playing against? So matches on ladder are extremely simple to book, but this is something I brought up right as of wait. So they're simple to book, but this is something I brought up as of right now, that they tend to be a bit too simple. That anyone can put out a request to play at any time. Why is this a bad thing? Well, it's a bit of a gift and a curse, because it's more than likely going to impact the way scrims have been booked for the last 3 and 4 years. This is something as a community we can decide to work on in-house if we want. Below, which again, I participated in this poll and stuff, but Aqua pretty much made a poll and all that stuff, just asking for people's opinion. So let me check. I'm trying to like skim through a little bit. I'm just gonna skip to the last paragraph. So, can you pick your teams, or the teams that you're playing against? No. The way that it works is you sign up for a match, pick the time, and the team that wishes to play you will randomly challenge you, and it could be any of the teams that are on ladder. You won't be told what the other team is or their players, so you can't really predict who you're going to play. If people are trying to Q snipe other teams, like for example wanting to only get their team, this is also easily trackable due to the amount of cancels that someone has on average on their account. So, quickly summarized, you can't pick whatever team you're playing against, which is really good. You can't see anything about the other team until like it's game time, and then you get the contact, and even then, like, there's a few times where you're probably going to end up playing the same team, especially earlier on, because I think right now, I don't remember when this document and when all the Open Division stuff got released, but I think it's been like easily over a week probably, and even though it's been over a week, there's still only like 20 teams that have actually like competed and been playing, so you can kind of take that as you will. So moving on. Is there a possibility that OD could be pushed back a week or two so that teams can settle? Sadly, it's not possible since it's at the bottom of the food chain. Also because the scene is trickled up if OD is pushed back. It would affect trials as well, or as well as contenders. So they, okay. So they did make the point cap 15 to make sure you don't really have to do too much early, and you pretty much are just needing to play one game. So There you go. There is there's absolutely no ability for pug teams to participate in cup tournaments. This is a bit of a tricky situation with the implementation of pro points into the scene. From my current understanding, it's still feasible to, if to be blunt, the pug team is good enough. A team, in theory, as well as a player who constantly places in top 16, should have more than enough pro points to qualify for future events. However, expecting to pug high-level cups may not be possible unless the roster is composed of several high pro point rated players. So, that, I guess, tiny little thing is in my thing. I think if I'm gonna keep doing like paraphrasing as it's I guess kind of going on, it's gonna be a lot difficult for me to do my specific paraphrasing, but basically you can't just like scrap together a team last minute. There's a very low chance that you're able to just kind of scrap a team together and just play an OD, which I know is a thing for a lot of people. So this could possibly be a good thing in terms of making people maybe want to stay as a team longer and just in general give more longevity for teams. Okay. What happens to teams that have players that move up to Trials, Contenders, or Overwatch League? So this is an extremely interesting question that brought up a good point. When brought this up, it was initially overlooked, but seeming to be addressed. The two ideas that were brought up at the moment was a bounty system where the point differential could be awarded to the player that replaces them. So, for example, if a player had 2,000 points and moved up, and the replacement had 1,200 points, then the 800 points would be awarded to that player. Another idea that was bounced was the idea that the player who moved would easily be split among the team in a balanced manner to make sure that everyone would not make the team's points any higher than before. These are also still being determined by Blizzard, will react with the appropriate reaction when it comes. However, they're excited to implement a solution here. So, what this means to me, this is actually really interesting. I actually like partially pogged while I was like reading this. So I really like that actually, where it's like now if you like, if let's say in my position as a main support player, if some main support gets like put up into or picked up to Contenders, gets picked up to Trials, then like as soon as they go like looking for a player, I'm gonna grind my ass off to get those fucking pro points, especially if like I'm lacking behind in like my specific pro points, but I want to get all the ones that that person has, then I can obtain that. But I'm also curious about like, what if they go up to Contenders and then kind of have a situation where like they go up to Contenders and then instantly drop? Then what really happens to that person? Like, pardon me, do they keep the pro points that they initially had? Do they have to start at ground zero? I'm assuming they don't, but let's keep moving forward. What happens to players or teams that get, my bad, for teams that get relegated down back to Trials into OD, they'll be awarded points to keep them at a higher level, so that they immediately qualify for the next cup and not be too far behind. This is where points being awarded to a player can be seen as a positive. Due to this, teams can get teams that get relegated down, their players will be able to find teams quite easily and won't be forced into playing with their team again if they do not wish to do so. How will this be advertised in any way? Previous players who popped off could be seen on stream and picked up by tier 2 teams before roster locks. This no longer exists. So with the new cup system, there should be more matches than before, or at least more small scale tournaments. I'm so sorry for yawning, actually. From my current understanding, these new tournaments carry not only cash prizes but will allow the ability of new formats to be streamed as well. So this and the last one, what it means to me is pretty much I personally don't care about stuff getting advertised as much, but like I guess it's very weird, because if you watched my video about Flash Ops tournaments and that I really wanted to do tournaments, or that I wanted to see more tournaments kind of like the Flash Ops ones that just kind of have their little unique style to them, and I think this can kind of bring that same thing in a sense, where you can do a lot more smaller tournaments. I don't know how diverse you can be with those tournaments, but people can kind of make like their own mini Flash Ops tournaments if they so choose to do so. But anyways, moving on. Do the map rules listed apply to ladder matches as well as cups? So the map rules are the same. The format, such as best of 3 and other factors, possibly being double elim, round robin, and so on, are subject to change. So that's good. When do signups close for OD? There's not really a sign up close date. And with that being said, I would highly recommend signing up as soon as possible to start generating points. So again, that's what I mean, where currently, like, everything's very loose, and there's no like clear cut open division, and now open division is like spanning over time, which is very, very interesting. What about roster logs? Roster locks are primarily for cups. So to my current knowledge, cups will have their own signups and will be locked at a cap of 9 players. However, the ladder does not have this, and you can change your roster minutes before the match. This is why ladder matches roster has a cap at 14 players, to allow for more players to move around between teams if needed throughout the season. So what about subs? Members of a cup team will earn points even if those 3 subs located on the team do not play. They earn points, and for ladder matches, they are only awarded with those that play and are signed up for the match. So what I'm assuming this means is, I mean, the roster locks thing kind of speaks for itself, where pretty much your roster isn't really limited until it comes to the cups, but the ladder doesn't really matter. So you can do, your ringers, your subs, or whatever. I actually don't know how well ringers are, but I know that the ringers thing does get brought up later, so that's something to kind of think of. And when it comes to subs, I mean, so they get the points for placing in terms of, I'm assuming, like a cup, but if they're not playing and they're not like set up to be playing in that match, then they're probably not getting the same then they're probably not getting all of the points that they could be getting, but they're still getting the points for placing in general. Okay. Whew. Is there a rule that states what server the NA games must be hosted on? NA games are to be played on NA period. The NA server in question will be decided by the host for ladder matches. The team that issues the challenge is host. If this becomes a problem in the format, then people are probably just going to swap it to the lowest latency one. Cup dates, there's cups planned and scheduled, but they're waiting on contenders to announce stuff to bring that information forward, which is really fucking good for us. So pretty much we're expecting all of our information very closely, if not as soon as contenders gets announced. So we're gonna get a whole lot of info very quickly, which I really like. I'm gonna have to eat really quick, so I apologize. Is the one team per player limit per region? There are a few players who have both EU and NA teams in the past. You're only allowed to play in one region. People who are caught playing in multiple regions at the same time will be subject to Blizzard punishment. So, don't play in two regions or else fucking Blizzard's gonna fucking spank you. I'm assuming. How will pro points affect a player's career? What advantage does someone with pro points have over someone on a individual level? How is this system optimized for players of a sport? And how do these rules uphold to enhance the competitive experience? So pro points will affect a player's career in a multitude of ways, such as said in the doc. And what are pro points? This will go for one, help players that have trouble getting noticed after several good performances and be more noticed. Secondly, this will help players find teams at around the same level easier after leaving or being dropped from another team. No, this becomes if this becomes abused by the community as another whole SR peak requirement to joining teams or other managers, it'll be looked at that and addressed. So what this means to me is, again, I still think it's a very good thing where you can have for most people. Let me try to get a whole thing on this. So in the grand scheme of things, a lot of people will move to pro play and will gravitate away from ladder into more competitive play in terms of scrims, competing in other kinds of ways and more stuff like that, because they're tired of comp. But it eventually fucks your path to pro, because then you're at a crossroad of, okay, I don't want to play comp, but I want to further my career, and you want to kind of find a balance for that. And pro points, I think, is a very good alternative to that, where now you have a way to show people that you're still improving, that you're still pulling consistent results and have a good track record of pulling consistent results. But instead you're instead of it just being another person with a bad peak that's I promise it's just my teammates' fault, please actually give me a chance, because a lot of people do that, and some people are justified in doing that. And with that, you still need to then kind of bring up, all right, so now how much are pro points going to be a big thing to picking up teams, I guess, in the future. So can we add to the rules that VOD sharing isn't allowed? It's not allowed at any other level of play, and or in third-party tournaments, so why is it allowed on the foundation level of the Path to Pro? This is something that may be willing to look into. It's a hot topic, and again, he made a poll, and everyone hated fucking VOD sharing. So, ringers. The new format is designed to move farther away from ringers and promote subs, which I think is fucking huge. Let me finish this though. This is expressed in a large team size cap being, I believe, 9, and for cups. As of right now, ringers are not allowed for either matches. So basically, because that's also something that would be very abusable if you were allowing like someone to just ring for your team and get their like your 15 points there, and then they go ring for like, you know, 5 other teams that week, and all of those teams, like if we assume all those teams get their first win, then that one player who's just ringing and kind of, you know, being there to be there is now getting like their career pushed forward just for ringing. But I think this is big because currently, especially in the tier 3 scene, you never see teams pick up like really like flexible rosters. Their roster is always 6 players. At the most, maybe they're like picking up a 7th player if they're like, oh man, this guy just got like started having to go to work all the time, so now we need someone to fill in for them, like that kind of stuff. So I think that it's really good to kind of bring to light the idea of getting substitute players, especially because there's a lot of people who are desperate to compete and are good players that are willing to and they put it in their like LFT that they're willing to be a 7th person for the right team kind of stuff. So moving on, if I feel I'm unfairly punished by game battles or an illegitimate rule was made, what do I do? So game battles operate the ladder and cups on behalf of Open Division. They are simply contracted to use it as the platform to book matches and host cups. Blizzard is in charge of OD, so again, you can message this guy in the Open Division Discord, which he actually provides all the links for here, which if I remember, I can put them all in the comments. So is there any other way that we can get a depiction of the new system like they did for contenders like this? So both sides agree that this is a great idea. The goal moving forward is to make a graphic of graphics, brilliantly phrased, Aqua, to help explain the system of the future. It'll most likely be released in the information regarding contenders, or when the information of contenders goes public. So ladder starts next Monday. Did OD already start? Open Division started the 2nd of February, and when anyone heard this, they were just like, what the fuck, god damn it. But they started the 2nd of February, and if you're able to and you are able to book ladder matches already, the first point cap reset is Monday at 6 a.m. for the first week, and they'll be capped at 15 points instead of the normal 50 to help with the confusion. So what server will the PAC and Oceanic? Alright, gonna be honest, I don't care about Oceanic, so I'm just gonna scroll down. My bad. if the system is supposed to be blind, should managers post LFGs? I don't have a problem with this as long as the team involved are playing at the best of their ability. So this is also something where kind of competitive integrity comes into play, because there's a lot of people that are like, man, you could just be farming like plat teams. There is not a singular plat team that is signed up currently. I guarantee you. Like, the lowest team is a team that's like pretty decent right now, and like has some like a fair amount of people that you would like recognize possibly from like ladder or something, assuming you play on higher ladder. So our points reset every OD. This was actually something that I brought up earlier, that ladder points are reset throughout the year. Pro points will be reset at the start of new OD and in 2022. So my concern from before was the kind of bar constantly being raised, and this pretty much puts it right back into place where it resets. I don't know if it's every year or if that's kind of the system it's going towards, but pretty much that's a main thing to that was my biggest concern that I think is now answered. Alright, so we're almost done here, bear with me. God, this video's 40 minutes, what a shame. Fuck off, man. Alright, in order to help further the advances in communication between Blizzard and members of the scene, this may end up being similar to that of the system in place already in Tier 2, but a little bit more likely to be tailored to a fit so that the scene doesn't, this level of the scene doesn't expect a copy pasta. The goal would be to find a predominant member of this level of the scene that accurately represents both Tier 4 and Tier 3, and act as a line of communication between Blizzard staff. This could be effective or effectively provide. Man, I'm so dog shit. Okay. This could effectively provide feedback on changes being made, providing Blizzard a pulse and better read on what community wants to change and crack down on miscommunication, which changes in the path to pro. Another part of this would be that these people would be able to answer questions in the OD server to help mitigate the amount of unanswered questions from new players and teams. Notes that these players would in no way, shape, or form be affiliated with Blizzard and would not be employees of Blizzard, but they would be selected by Blizzard staff as community champions. Okay, so basically they're trying to give more Tier 3, Tier 4 representation with, I guess, community representatives instead of going like grand scale, making a another like YouTube channel that people can follow to watch like open division games or whatever. So let me okay home fucking stretch, boys. So can we just go back to the old format? To be honest with everyone here, I'm an advocate of the old system as of right now. And this is from, again, the perspective of Aqua. So these are not my words. I'm just reading the words of him. I've been in the scene for years now, and honestly, I think that last year was not a bad system at all. Me, personally, as Demented Poor, would tend to agree, actually. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but I'm open to this new system, possibly. That being said, we have to be realistic here. We can't just uproot the current system. The current system right this very second. It will have ramifications on the tiers above us. So basically, we have to make sure that we're not going to pretty much destroy all of the other tiers, just because we're not happy with our tier and the format that we're playing with. Give me just a second. Sorry, I had to text someone. Okay. That being said, the possibility of revamping the new system or looking at bringing aspects of old back is existent. After months or two of explaining myself and others, will be collecting data on multiple topics and the pretty much overall disdain or like of the new system, which I do think people just need to look forward to this, because realistically, complaining isn't going to change the format. Like, realistically, this is like this. Obviously, that we needed this like kind of document to clarify everything, because this is a very like sophisticated, on the surface level, what looks like a very sophisticated format. And although we maybe didn't need this, it's so difficult just to be like, all right, we needed to just scrap all of this that you guys have been working on and just go back to our normal shit. Because realistically, this could make a more healthy alternative for our community, and I think with that we can only hope to give it a shot. So moving on to this, with data or with this data changes that the community is looking for, more likely to happen. It's hard from a business standpoint to decide to make changes on the fundamental level of the scene that feeds everything above it lightly to wait. All right. However, if we have an overwhelming amount of data on our side, that's pretty much, if we bitch hard enough and it really is a bad system, and if we genuinely give it a try and it really shits the bed, then we can probably complain enough to where they're just gonna say, fuck it, fine, you fucking dumbasses, and then throw us our fucking normal OD. And that's also leading into the very last paragraph of where I'm agreeing with Aqua. In this being said, I ask everyone to try out the new system that is currently in place. For those who know me, you know that I will always act in what I think is the best course of action for the scene, and will do everything in my power to support it. In order for this to happen, we have to be willing to give this new system a chance. Ask yourself, when was the last time someone from Blizzard sat down and talked to one of us, the people outside of contenders, on what they think of OD? I personally can't remember. This is a huge first step, and one that I'm confident will lead to success with more communication between us and Blizzard. Okay, so that wraps up everything. Pretty much mostly what I said. And like, you know, we're not in the best state to be really like questioning them wanting to change OD, especially because them wanting to change it is like more than likely for it to be the better. I'm assuming they wouldn't put all this time and effort into making a like worse system just because they don't want to, I guess, want it to be simple, which that just doesn't make sense to me. So realistically, I don't see a universe where we are like completely split as a community. This is either going to go very well or very poorly. I personally am very excited for it in the future, and I hope you all are as well. I hope this helped kind of do the OD clarification a bit. Again, I reached out to Aqua, so big shout out to you for allowing me to make this video. And I know that this is like a big document for a lot of people, and that it's very overwhelming to like have to look at all this, although it's very simple to look through all of it and kind of not have it, I guess, in the grand scheme summarized. So I guess really quickly I can kind of go over everything again. So I guess just overall ladder, pretty much currently you can only win once per week and actually get the pro points for it. Pro points are basically used as a alternative version of SR, so you don't have to worry about peaks anymore, but now you have to worry about getting your pro points up and constantly being able to play. With ladder matches being introduced, I think ladder matches are a very good way to think about keeping open division going, instead of like, you know, you have your one weekend of like 6 games, and then your other weekend, if you make it to playoffs, of like 6 games or whatever, and then you know, you're shit out of luck basically for like a couple months until the next one shows up. So this, I think, is a very healthy alternative to, if it's used correctly, kind of just having games whenever you want, whenever you're like kind of giving you more freedom. I do, however, think that this is going to be very difficult for people that are more casual to get into. I think this is going to be very off-putting, since it's going to get more complex. That I like, people are talking about, yeah, you can just be farming plat teams. I don't think any plat teams are going to understand this for the most part. There might be a couple standout ones with like really good managers, but outside of that, I don't think reasonably that there's going to be a lot of teams that are willing to like keep trying to do like ladder matches and just getting fucked over and over and over repeatedly. So I mean, we talked about the system. If someone gets elevated, whoever replaces them gets the pro points that said person had, which is huge. And if that person comes down, they're not shit out of luck, they get enough pro points to where they're reasonably back where they were before they got elevated. I mean, there's no real like sign up, like you can sign up whenever, but there's no real like deadline for stuff except cups. And cups are going to be very specific to things like your pro points, and but for these first initial ones, it's pretty much free game, and anyone can go in and just try to earn as many pro points as they want moving forward. For the most part, overall, we talked about substitutes, and that substitutes are going to be a lot more useful going into this next thing, as more than ringers, because they really want to stray away from ringers. So if you're very like reliant on having ringers come in for like a fraction of your games or something, then I would probably suggest in looking for a substitute player instead. There's a ton of them looking in DoD right now. Let's see. I mean, no real initial like release date on when the first cup is, and again, the cup is the actual tournament, and these are just ladder matches that are like kind of prefacing the tournament and kind of giving a little bit of a again, kind of like negating downtime a little bit. But we don't get information about our cup until the contenders announcement happens, which is fine, because I'm totally down to watch more contenders. I'm ready for it. What else? Again, you can sign up right now if you have a big or a want to compete or whatever, but with that being said, also I would prefer, or I would suggest rather, that you don't sign up with just a pug team. And if you don't know what a pug team is, that's basically just kind of not joining with a actual team and instead joining with, like, you know, just friends. But if you're someone who's playing more casually, then, you know, go fucking wild. But if you're someone who's trying to compete at a higher level, I would suggest getting on a team, and then having the team sign up, and then you can compete in your ladder matches so you don't get locked out of a roster or whatever. And then points do get reset at the end of, and this again I'm not entirely sure on, but get reset at the end of every year. And for that, I mean, the I guess last thing in this recap is, like, the old format is still on the table. It's just not something that is a guaranteed for right now. It's a kind of a let's hope that we don't have to go back to this, and let's try this and see how it like holds over. And that's gonna be it. So all of these are links to a whole bunch of different stuff, including the Open Division Discord, obviously, and where you can find the other things for Open Division. And again, I'll try to link them in the description. If I don't remember to, fucking yell at me. It's fine. Just like yell at me in comments or whatever. But that's gonna be it. I know this is a very long video, and I'm very apologetic that it took this long, but I really wanted to make a clarification video, and hoping that I can kind of help some people understand a little bit better, even if they're better at listening than reading. So again, thank you to Aqua for letting me or allowing me to make this video. I appreciate you so much. So that's gonna be it, and if you want, you can follow me on Twitter at Demented. I do a bunch of like analytical content and just tweet about like random shit, but for the most part just when I upload. You can subscribe if you want. I don't give a fuck. If you like the video, like it, whatever. I will see you when I see you later.